Protecting Zul'Dazar is our top priority. We cannot allow the Alliance to encroach upon the city. Push them back to their boats.
What is your business here?
There we go. Alright. Mic is working now. Hi, thanks, and welcome to another episode of Getting a Bit Better. This is the 14th one. Quite a few questions to get through today. We'll go ahead and start with that in just a minute. Let's see. One second. Let me fix something here real quick.
Here we go again. Here we go again. Here we go again.
See if this shows up right. There we go. Alright, so today's first question comes from Nikam Melganis. It says, improve my DPS as a Fury Warrior in Mythic Progression and maybe Rotation. Popping cooldowns at the right time. Would just generally accept any critique to make myself a better raider. Alright, so first step, try to find some logs. So Nikam Melganis Warrior. Easy peasy. Alright. So he's specifically looking at Mythic Progression. So I'll go ahead and start with that. Alright. Wanted to look at, see if there's any info from last patch, but alright, so we just have this to work with right here. Just glancing at the heroic log, so if we need to look at other fights, we can look at that to start at least. But alright. Go here to see how many samples of each fight we have. Alright, so I guess just start with Champions Light. Alright, so lots of kills of champions. Wrong would be next. Let's see, May, June, okay. So it looks looks like this last week, um, this last reset, he's been in a different guild, or at least raided with a different guild. Well, actually, he is in that guild now. Alright. So. Champions, alright. Like, getting good DPS in that fight is largely to do with padding. I mean, well, I guess not padding, but like, it has to do with the guild strategy. So, I don't think that would be a good example for something to go for increasing DPS. I mean, like, yeah, obviously, I could, look up, I guess, better ways to pad with what is available. Like, I mean, even not necessarily padding, but like, it could be optimizing like your burst on your opener so that you're cleaving more mobs if the mobs are even in cleave range. But yes, let's start with Jadefire because that looks like where you're currently having the most issue. Grong might be kind of good also because it's mainly single target. Let's see. Alright, I guess let's actually start with Grong, and then I'm going to try and use that information, and well, I guess that information mainly for like rotational improvements, and then I'll look at Jadefire for possible things you can do with improving either like positioning or like cooldown use, that sort of stuff. Alright, so I guess let's look at the most recent log. It's not your best on Grong. You had, oh wait, no, that's a much older one. Is that, oh, that's your prot for that log. Alright, that one's irrelevant over what you're looking for. So yeah, this one here. All right. All right. So respective to the rest of your group, first I'm going to look at damage done to the ads. Just so I can get an idea. All right. So yeah, you're like switching to the ads early, so that's it doesn't have like your DPS starting like way later than like the overall peak of raid damage on the ads. I'll look in the actual replay in a minute here as well, but I don't. It doesn't. You're not like ignoring the ads or anything. So that's a good step. Like even if you're trying to improve your DPS, you don't want to do it at the cost of like sacrificing doing raid mechanics because, at least in any guild that you want to be in, like mechanics still come before DPS. Like if your raid leader or whatever is kicking you for low DPS, or I'm not saying that's the case here, but like if you're being called out for low DPS while still doing mechanics, that's one thing. Whereas if you're, doing 10% higher DPS but you're ignoring mechanics, that's, that's, I don't know, in my opinion, much worse. All right. Go back to damage. All right, let's look at buffs. Actually, I wanted to see something real quick. Something new in Warcraft logs that I haven't noticed. I don't know how long it's been there, but I definitely haven't noticed it. The sections for major group cooldowns and major individual cooldowns. Definitely appears like it's still being worked on because, things like Aspect of the Wild or something at least should be up here for Hunter. But anyway, alright, let's go back to Ecom. Alright. So. Oh yeah, I want to see your character as well. Guess I can just do it here on summary. Alright, so you're using resins and crested butcher block for your 2 trinkets. Stacking crit. And let's see what tricks. It'll be easier to, I mean, I can see them here, but it'll be easier to just look at them. Here. Just update this real quick. There. Max to neck. Alright. Alright. So, roughly a 5-minute ground kill. What's your item level on this kill? 411. Alright, let's look comparatively to some of the other warriors. Battle of Desarlor, then going to rankings. Instead of all bosses, switching that to Mythic, or to Grong. Making sure it's still on Mythic. Of all classes, Fury Warrior. Alright, so we're also going to want to change and filter to, I mean, roughly same item level and fight duration. So item level, I'd say 413 to, it doesn't matter. On the low end, like I never actually put something in there just because, like if someone is much under geared and still doing well, that could just be player skill. It also could be, you know, just lucky procs or something like that, but there's not really a need to put something on the low end. So I'm just going like a couple item levels higher than what he currently is. Fight length. So it's a little bit over 5 minutes, which is 300 seconds. So let's go like 315 to, no, 285. So it's like within a 30-second window of a 5-minute kill. I think theirs was like 456, so close enough. Alright, and search. Alright, so the highest DPS is like 30k, but looks like that's pretty big outlier compared to, you know, I guess there's 2 that are like 30k. But it's looking more, you'd want to be looking for like a, you know, doing like 26, 27k type range. Ideally. Right, and you were like 21.6. Alright, so let's try and see what is going on differently. Guess let's just pick something as an example. Alright, let's see trait-wise. Yeah, it's many cold steel hot bloods. It's pretty common here. Looks like just about everyone is doing after that. Looks like one simmering rage on almost everyone. Check that here in a second. Alright, oh hey Xeno, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. Oh, right, alright, so yeah, he does have the one Simmering Rage. And then Reckless Fury and Unbridled Ferocity. I mean, that looks... Without, like, knowing the rest of his gear in particular, that looks like it's probably, you know, pretty good. It doesn't seem like he's necessarily missing anything that anyone else has. So yeah, alright, let's look, like, cooldown usage. So same thing like I did with Nikum, I want to see on this log if Trident, like, ignored ads or something. Nope, looks like he also switched. He actually did ignore the last ad, though. Alright, so I'm gonna actually try and pull up a different log instead of looking at his to compare. Because I guess, you know, with a warrior, that could cause a bit of a difference in DPS of, you know, moving out, especially with the last stat, like during execute time and everything. Let's see. Try this one. Damage on ads. Alright, he's top on ads. Then, alright, yeah, he's actually hitting all three. Alright, so he's hitting all the ads, and it's the top on ad damage, and still doing very good on damage. Alright, so it's going to be a good example to look at. Let's just double check and see what he was doing with traits. He actually coincidentally has the same trinkets as well. Item levels. Yeah, so like a 405, 395 for Nikon, 395 and 400. So pretty similar trinkets. Weapon, I think Nikon had two 415s, so he has a slightly better for his one weapon. He's also stacking crit, crit and chance. He's using one masterful instead of Nikam's quick navigation, but still very similar. And let's look at traits. Yeah, the 3 Cold Steel Hot Blood, 1 Simmering Rage, Unbridled, and Swirling Sand. So very similar overall. So this should be a good comparison for DPS. Alright, so I'm going to look at times for cooldown usage. Right. At this point, it's actually probably easier to compare the logs directly. So I've gone over this before, but in the URL, like the first thing in between, like the like after the slash mark, after the word reports, that's going to be like the URL for this log. Actually, I'm going to take it from Schmitty's. So I'm going to highlight that section, copy. Then I'm going to go back to the log that I wanted to compare with. Ecom, click the compare button, compare reports, compare with URL, and now paste that little section. It gives you like the directions on how to do that right here. Then click OK. Alright, so now it's going to look like everything disappeared, but again, you're just going to go down to what you're interested in. So I'm going to click on Wrong Mythic. Now to get to showing both of those logs, I'm going to have to go to actually show all. Actually doing this might work, all kills. Yeah, that works. Alright, so that'll pull up wrong on both. No, I don't want to do it that way though. Alright, I'm just going to pull up. I'm going to click on the individual kills. Oh no. I don't know why the charts aren't showing up properly. Alright, let me go back for a second. Go to the start of this log. See if I can get it to show up now. Wrong. Alright, so we're on the kill. Compare report, compare with URL, pasting. Now clicking back down here on Grog again. Now all kills again. Nope, yeah, I don't know why it's not showing the graphs correctly. Normally it does. It'll like have them overlaid with each other. Alright. There's only one warrior in each group. Alright, Ecom. Then I'm going to do this again. And Schmitty. Oh, sorry, I forgot to click translate as well. Alright. So, everything basically on this left side could be potentially the same as what's on the right. Roughly. So, I guess instead of starting here, I'm actually going to go over to cast. We'll try and look at what abilities are being not cast as often. Alright, so quite a bit more Raging Blows than over here because Schmitty's has like significantly more Bloodthirst. It's like almost 30, it's 27 more Bloodthirst. Oh, a bit more Whirlwinds here. Schmitty also got more Execute casts off. Rampages aren't too far off. Siege Breakers are pretty close. Did miss one use of it in comparison to here. Dragon Roar is the same. He is using Charge to get to the ads. He actually got off one more Recklessness cast overall. It's good they both use Hellstones and, potions. And Rallying Cry even. Yeah, so like all the stuff near the bottom's the same. The biggest difference is in the actual usage of like the main abilities, like Bloodthirst, Raging Blow. It's probably the biggest difference between those ones. Really just the difference in Bloodthirst casts. Let's look at resources. Alright, oh, I forgot this doesn't work well. I'm not going to be able to do this and compare. With resources, for whatever reason, in like the compare window, it doesn't like to show up all the time. So I'm just going to go look at the log individually. Just look at the two tabs. Alright, so Rage here. Resources, Rage. Alright. Alright, so if we look at Wasted, it's not too much wasted overall. 55, 61, 67, 87, 97, 105 here. I believe that's 301. Alright, so yeah, quite a bit more wasted. Raw gain. See, Nikam looks like he's... See, I can't necessarily say that he's... like using too many like Raging Blows, but because he's gained like so much more rage from it. But so much less from Bloodthirst. It doesn't look like he's staying focus or rage capped very long when he is, and it seems to usually be like he'll cap like here he like capped on rage like probably when like switching to the ad or actually coming back from the ad if the ad died right here. Alright, let's look at buffs. Let's see, rage up time. Yeah, with using so many more bloodthirsts, his enrage up time is a bit higher. 8%. Just a different embrace of the pocket. Alright. Resin procs seem pretty similar. Both guilds end up lusting around the same point. as well. Yeah, so I don't know. To me, it definitely looks like it's the difference in the usage of recklessness. Um, or sorry, not recklessness. Bloodthirst. Let's just look up in these Fury suggestions. Yeah, so I don't know how necessarily updated this is, but the Raging Blow at 2 charges versus well, obviously Raging Blow when at 2 charges, so you're not wasting the recharge time of Raging Blow. Is higher priority than Bloodthirst, but Bloodthirst is in general on higher priority than just using Raging Blow, so that could be the issue. Um, it could be that Nikam's using his Raging Blows always ahead in priority over Bloodthirst. It'd be really difficult to look up in logs, though. That'd be something that'd be easier to see in like an actual like gameplay video or something. But try and look at it here. Alright, so cast and then timeline. Alright, so let's see when this was updated. Alright, so it's like Rampage, Raging, Bloodthirst, Rampage, Raging, Bloodthirst. It's a little bit in. Just trying to see how he got so many more Bloodthirsts off. Let me check the traits. There. Talents, that's something I didn't check. Just make sure those are the same. Couple times. Big no, try Carnage, Dragon Roar, Siegebreaker. Alright, yeah, those are the exact same. Alright, so yeah, it doesn't seem to be anything that would be affecting, like, resetting the cooldown of Bloodthirst or anything like that, so that's the number one thing that I would be looking into then. Nikom, I would say check and make sure that you are actually using Bloodthirst ahead of Raging Blow, as long as you're not capped at 2 charges of Raging Blow. Yeah, aside from that, everything else looks pretty reasonably, close to what much higher DPSing players are doing. So yeah, that would be my biggest suggestion. I guess one other thing I can look at real quick is how long the ads are alive, like how long you have to be switched on them. Let's see, damage done to ads. Alright, it's from like 17 until like 17, and your first ad dies at 37. Alright, so these ads are actually up a bit longer. Yeah, your ads died much faster. Here they spawn. First one's killed at 240. Second, 246. First, roughly 240. Second one, alright, so yeah, alright, so that seems to be one thing that's going on. It looks like they're actually doing the strat where, basically it's kind of like what we do, actually, is we keep the second ad alive for longer and just interrupt it for a while, and then end up killing it off like when we need it, so that the second person holding the core isn't just taking extra damage. Whereas it looks like your guild is killing both of the ads basically at the same time. So I guess doing that, since he actually has the highest ad damage, that does favor his damage a little bit, because if he's one of the people doing the most damage to the ads, that means he's going to be DPSing the ad longer while it's like while it's in execute range. And obviously he's going to get a little bit more extra damage out of that. Whereas, if your ad is dying, even just your first ad is dying, roughly the same amount of time, but the second ad is going to be dead. It's dying like 6 to 10 seconds after the first ad dies. So you're not really getting any hardly any execute time on that second ad, whereas he's going to get a lot more. So that's probably how he fits the extra executes in to the fight overall. Let's see, actually here he gets, like 13 executes on the ads versus, your 5. So that's, a bit of damage, extra damage that he's getting there. Did 3.7 million. So yeah, he has almost double damage. Or actually almost triple damage on the ads. Well, 2.5 times in comparison. But yeah, that's really a strategy thing. That's not anything that you could help. But yeah, so again, rotationally look into trying to get more Bloodthirst off overall, even at the cost of some Raging Blow usage, and just delay your Raging Blow, because you're not losing out. Like, Sea Hunters have a similar, like, 2-charge ability with, like, our Barb Shot. Like, as long as you're not going to be capped on that Raging Blow, like, you're never going to actually lose that like lose a cast over the course of the entire fight, as long as like before the boss dies, you end at 0 charges. Like overall, um, like the generation of your charges is static. So whether you use 2 at the very beginning of the fight, and then when they come up, you start using them again, like over and over, or you use 1 and then you wait until it's about to be charged again, then you use it again, and you keep doing that for the end of until the end of the fight, and at the very end you use both charges right away. Overall, those 2 situations, you're going to end up with the same exact number of casts overall. So there's no rush to use that charge, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say. It obviously can be more bursty, like if you're, if you want to do that when switching to an ad or something like that. But in general use, like your general rotation, like standard rotation, it's not really a gain to do that. All right. Real quick, I'm not going to spend nearly as much time on it, but I just want to look at your Jadefire log real quick as well. Sun Crucible. Oh, hey, Plutonium. No problem. I haven't, yeah, I'll be getting to yours in just a moment. I know you had a question coming up soon. Alright. Oh, hi. It's the bunt. Back a bit. Alright. Back one more time. Alright, all this other stuff can stay roughly the same. Let's just go to Jadefire. Oh, actually, I'm probably going to have to change the fight length a little bit. I can just do it here. Let's go fight between 3 minutes and 3.5 minutes. Item level can stay the same. Alright, overall damage looks to be like roughly the same. Make sure I go with something that also has like similar traits again. What was his actual kill? 533. Actually, I need to go a little bit longer then. Let's go 315 to 345 then. 345. Sure. Oh, it's a pretty funny guy. Alright, let's look at casts here again. Alright, so it looks like this is kind of a similar issue. When we look at Whirlwind casts, I mean, he's getting more Whirlwind casts overall, but he has almost the same number of Whirlwind to Bloodthirst, whereas your Bloodthirsts are like half of your Whirlwind casts. He executes 22, Same number of executes between the two logs. Raging Blows are actually pretty similar as well. Let's see, Rampage 56. Looks like he's just getting a lot more actual casts in. An issue with that could be the maze. So strategy-wise, how long it takes you guys to get through. That should be... yeah, here. Actually, it's got to be there. It would be going from left to right. Alright, so it's starting right here. So, see when people actually get ported. Right there, 218. Ecom, let's see when he actually starts doing any damage again. Alright, so he's here. Alright, they have a gateway, but people still getting pushed back. Yeah, it's taking him a bit longer. So, alright. They do have a Warlock. I'm gonna see if he has like the gateway debuff in a second there, but yeah, it definitely did take him quite a while to get over. Let's see in comparison. Alright, well this is the Alliance Maze, so it's a bit different, but timing should be kinda similar. Alright, so roughly 230. Yeah. Gateway. And yeah, it's like 12 seconds or so before he's able to start attacking. Where's 218 until... there. So yeah, it took Nikom about like 20 seconds or so to finish the maze before he could start attacking, versus like 10 to 12 seconds for the other warrior, so it's a bit of downtime on DPS there. And yeah, logs can catch everything. Oh. Barrier, that's what it's looking for. Alright, so this is going to be damage done on the wall. He had 368k total, 414. So that actually wasn't. He did still pretty good damage on the wall. He was there for less time, but did more like overall DPS to the wall. So that downtime of actually getting there wasn't that big of a factor here. Alright, let's look at buffs. So there is actually the encounter buff. the defense thing. Yeah, successful defense. So that is going to be very relevant for DPS. Alright, so one issue with this is logs actually don't capture this perfectly. So I can't say for sure if this is accurate. He obviously at least got. I guess I can check damage taken. That might show up, right? I don't know what the hack is actually called. Not that. I don't know what it's called when someone fails getting hit. I guess it is just called multi-sided strike. Alright. So it doesn't look like either of them take damage from multi-sided strike. So they probably both did get the full 5 stacks each time. But yeah, it's weird how logs capture that. Like, it's based on the position of the person logging and where people are ported up, like in that, I guess, phase or whatever. It seems to be static, at least when I was doing it. When we were doing our progression on it, I noticed that the same people, at least on like the earlier teleports or whatever. So like say like the first teleport in the fight or second teleport or something like that, it seemed to be pretty static of where like we were positioned upstairs in the room. But it wasn't always the exact same, even with the same raid comp on the same night. So that could be what happened later on here. Looking at Evo, so like Decom each of the 4 times here might have just been ported up, you know, within range of the person logging, whereas Xehanort may not have been in range on the other ones. And see, it shows it stacking like 5 stacks here, whereas here it only shows the 1 stack, which is another weird thing. Let's see if it shows anything in vents. Yeah, see, it doesn't even show that. Yeah, and here it shows, you know, he's within range each time. Gets each of the stacks. Here he gets each of the stacks. Here he gets it. But that's all it really shows. But hey, I know this is unreliable to look at in this case, just because of how it doesn't get logged correctly. Let's look at other buffs. Let's see. Alright, he got 7 recklessnesses. What his actual usage is. I know the other one's like the proc or whatever. But get rid of that. There, so yeah, I think that's another issue with the logging. Like, I think he probably had a recklessness proc, you know, buff active on. Actually, this is probably actual use, and then probably got the proc. Or this is probably, you know, this would be the proc. Yeah, it's 4 seconds, so that would be a proc. This is probably his second actual recklessness use. Yeah, it's a minute and a half into the fight. I'm probably, you know, using it when he used it pre-pull. And then got teleported up during this recklessness, and the log didn't catch that recklessness falling off, so it thinks it was up the whole time, and then it catches it falling off here again. I don't know if this one was second use at this time, like maybe here or something like that. It was like a second use, or if it was another proc, but it probably would have been in this area anyway. This is 10 seconds right now. Alright. Alright, yeah, so this is an actual cast here. So I'm guessing he got the same thing. So he probably had like 1 use here, 1 use here, another one somewhere in this area, and then another one here. Now, one thing that is another thing to consider on this fight in particular. There is actually I want to see when they lost. That's relevant. Right, they lost on pole. They lost heroism. Alright, they do it later. There is actually I want to see when that is. Because see, he does have his actual like second recklessness use during his lust as well still. But I want to see if he has successful defense during that as well. Yeah. All right. So this definitely would have been much stronger. Their lust timing for him, for the other warrior, because right here he would have had just on as well. I'm guessing he probably potioned here as well. Yeah. All right. So right here he had the damage buff from successful defense, probably 5 stacks. Also heroism and recklessness and his potion. So he would have been super stacked on damage right there. Whereas Ecom, see, comparison to same things. So lust. Recklessness. Successful defense. Alright, so here he had this is kind of unfortunate right there. Alright, so like at the beginning of the fight, he did have also, you know, lust up, he had his pre-pot up, and he had his first recklessness up. But after that, he doesn't have as good of overlaps. Like, basically heroism or lust is falling off right when he gets a successful defense. So, because of how this stacks up, like you aren't even actually DPSing at this beginning point because you're still up top. And like once you drop down, you might not be in range of the ads. I'm not sure how this is triggered in the log. Like if it probably actually doesn't see this. It's probably actually when he drops down is right when this is showing up in the log like that. So he probably actually starts getting like his first stack earlier on or something like that, like a little bit here. So this is probably when he drops down. But even when you drop down, you know it takes maybe 2 seconds to get in range of the mob or something like that again. The bosses. So that's probably when you probably didn't really have lust for that. So this one isn't really stacked with stuff because recklessness here is falling off as well. This one I can't really tell necessarily what he had up right here, but most likely he wouldn't have had recklessness for it. This one would have been good. This should have been definitely with a recklessness as well. This one here, I definitely would have, like, his potion is timed with it well, but like, really, like, this recklessness, ideally, if it would have been like a few seconds earlier and at least caught the end of this to be overlapped with those ones, would have been a bit better, but again, it depends on when it was available here. But that's definitely something you could look at trying to sync up your cooldowns with the successful defense. But again, just the timing of the strategy with the other guild, doing their lust there with them lets him get all of those overlapped, so that's really strong for him. I wonder what the boss health was around this point. Alright, so this is like 345. Yeah, this mob was actually also around like 30% during that. Yeah, and So like 355. Alright, it hit 20%, like right as successful defense was falling off. But even still, like, that's a very strong amount of burst during that. Another thing that some guilds do, you know, you could, I mean, you're, I don't know how your, actually, now that I think about it, let me look. When was this log from? May 25th. Alright, so this was actually with your previous guild, so I don't know how your current guild is going to do it, because it didn't see any current kill, or any kills on this fight with your current guild. But you could maybe suggest to them, instead of lusting on pull, possibly lusting when you guys drop down from the first buff, from the first multi-sided strike. You might end up getting more damage. Like, not only you, but like the raid might end up getting more damage out of it there. Like, you lose out on the pre-pot, but if you hold your initial cooldown, it'll be worth more than being able to stack your pre-pot with your openers. Being able to stack it with like the extra damage from the successful defense buff. Alright, but yeah, I think that pretty much covers that there. Alright, going on to the next question. Alright, this one is from Admiral Pendragon from Feathermoon. His character name is Manamba. Is it possible to make a weak aura that will track Frost Trap on top of the health bar plate of a mob so that I can monitor CC while attacking another target? Alright, so this one is... Alright, well, just monitoring the Frost Trap, that one's not too hard, but I've actually been working on my own weak aura for traps. I'm sure you mean freezing trap, probably. I mean, you can do power trap, I suppose, if you're talking about like the slowing one, but so... I've been trying to get my own weak aura to work correctly at least all the time, and it doesn't really want to. With showing the name of the target, if I'm that like I freeze, but I'm gonna switch over to WoW real quick. Show an example. Alright, so let's go find a guy. I mean, I could trap one of these things, but what fun's that? Alright. Alright, so when I trap it, here's my weak aura, right here. When I trapped it, it has a freezing trap Surlisk. And I actually also have the timer up on here, so like, if I'm not looking at it, I still have the bar down here. So down here, this is actually a weak aura, which I can share this one with you. Easy peasy, and you can adjust how you want it to look and however you want. Like if you want it to be an icon or something instead, but you specifically said you want it as a thing above the nameplate. So mine actually right here is just part of my add-on, my nameplate add-on, which is threat plates. But you could do this also in a weak aura that attaches to nameplates. Let's see what a good way to do that would be. I wonder if I can actually just adjust one of the weak auras that I have right now. Test. Actually, now that I think about it, this would be a lot more difficult to edit from this because of how this untriggers. Let's see if there is a similar one though, real quick. On. Here we go. Alright, this might work. Alright, this one here is by Welity290. Alright, it's actually a rogue Wikora, but let's try and edit it. I already know that you play on a US realm, but just in case for whatever reason you don't play on a English client, I just did it by spell ID. Because if you do it by name, like, say if you're using like a German client or something like that, the Wikora wouldn't work. But if you do it by spell ID, it does. Alright. I think this actually could be in nameplates now, but I'm going to test with both in just a second. Let's trigger. Um, so one thing that you're gonna have to do specifically for your own nameplates is adjust this part. All right. So to do this, once you have this weak aura, um, right, sorry. Yeah. So after you get the weak aura, I'm gonna end up posting the link for you. You'll need to go into just basically click on the weak aura, then go to the actions tab. Then in this top section, click expand, and then right here, this section right here where it has like the little gray text. This is how you can adjust where the weak core is going to attach to your nameplate. So like right now, it's going to basically set it to like the bottom portion to the left, and then it's going to adjust 15 pixels to the left and 10 pixels down. So it's going to appear like somewhere down here or something like that. But depending on, say, if you wanted it to on the right side, and you wanted to, I mean, honestly, you could just do the entire thing by the offsets. But if you change either, like where it says bottom, if you change that to top or left to right, just make sure that's in capitals. And then obviously these numbers, this first number, -15, that's to the left for negative, or if you had it positive, it'll go more to the right. And then the second one is the y-axis, so -10 is going to go down. If you had a positive number, it would go out more. So say if you wanted on like more the top right, you would just make it +15, +10, or something like that. Alright, so let's make all of these other things not load. Real quick. And load this one. Alright. Let's see if this works. Oh, I hit a toad. That has no nameplate. Fucking toads. Alright. So, yeah, give that a second. I swear. Can't even see that toad. No more toad. It's just been crewed. Alright, here we go. No, not showing up. Let's test. Trigger. Let's try it, changing it to nameplate. Oops. Alright, let's try this again. Um, let's try changing the trigger back to name for a minute. That shouldn't affect it. Apparently it does, because that clearly works. I don't know how that trigger's written on the... I don't know why. Yeah, doing it as a nameplate, going by the aura by name. I don't know why. I'm actually going to check in a second to see if the actual debuff from Freezing Trap is... That could actually be it. It could be a different spell ID. I used the wrong ID, but I'll check that in a second. Alright, so obviously the aura is working. Where is my trap? Haha, yeah. Alright, so that was the issue why it didn't work. The debuff from being in a freezing trap is actually, or is that the aura ID is 3355, and I did the spell ID of the actual ability. So that's why that didn't work. Alright, so now I can change that back. Name, go back to spell ID, make this the correct spell ID. Alright, so let's try it one more time. Alright, yeah, still working. Alright, so now I think, pretty sure that's what you want. You wanted it to attach to the nameplate. And yeah, shows the icon. Obviously, you can ignore the one that is mine that's showing up up there, but that one there. So easy peasy. I'll link that for you real quick. All right, doesn't need to be in a group. I can get rid of all this stuff. And then obviously you can adjust any of the type of display stuff, like if you want a different font or change a different size to the icon. All that stuff would be in this first tab, display. At the very, very bottom, I guess not the very, very bottom, but down near the bottom, position settings, changing the width and height of the icon will make it bigger, smaller, whatever. And then, where to go? Text. Text one, changing the size or changing the font or whatever. You can adjust all that stuff however you'd like. Changes back off of tooltip. Make sure this shows up right. Okay. The reason I changed it to tooltip is just because I wasn't sure if, for like whatever reason, like if it was appearing up here underneath my my nameplate add-ons like aura tracker thing. I just wanted to make sure if it was on tooltip it would show up above it, like in the foreground. So I was just doing that as a kind of like a debugging type thing for troubleshooting. But having it on tooltip like that means it's going to show up like over anything else. So like if you're in like an option menu or something, that number would appear ahead of you. Alright, and I think that's everything set. I guess let's make this only load on a hunter. string. Alright. There we go. So that's the link for you. I'll say it in chat as well, just so you can see it on my screen. Yeah, you can type that in if you need to. If for whatever reason it doesn't show up on my stream and it's hard to see. Alright. That covers that question. Here, I need to get my daily gems real quick. Alright. Done that. Next question. Alright. Hey, here's Obium. Alright, so Plutonium Shore in chat asks, can you take a look at my Arcane Mage and make suggestions? Absolutely. Link up Obium's logs. Let's look at Battle for Zarlor. Alright, he only has, I mean, he has a lot of kills for champions. But, since he only has that as fight, I'm gonna look at heroic logs, just so I have, I guess, more varied and, like, consistent fights to look at. These ones, I guess, Grong would, again, be the best to look like for rotational things. Let's see. So he did have better DPS on these other weeks than the more recent ones, but I actually kind of want to pull up both. So I want to compare what you did differently, or like what happened differently in the fight. Actually, never mind. I don't even need to. I can see part of the reason is like fight duration, like the difference between like a 419 fight and like a 258 fight. Hunter standing on you. To be fair, whenever Rue had that trinket, I would hunt him down to stand on him. Just because Rue's mean. He always does mean things to me. To try and ruin my DPS too. Alright, Alright, so let's go with this more. Let's just go with the higher DPS one. Alright, so item level 413. Rue is mean. He is so mean. Oh my god. Alright. Want to pull up another. I'm just gonna do the same sort of situation as before. Gonna pull up another mage that is pull up, another Arcane Mage, similar item level, similar fight length, in Heroic. Heroic. Arcane Mage. Alright, and filter. Alright, we had a 340 fight, so that's like 180. It's 2 minutes and 20 seconds, so let's go. Or sorry, 220 seconds. So 220 to 240. And wait, let's not put that in raid size because I don't think we'll pull up anything. Item level. If I go up to 415, even at 413, that's gonna pull up. That could pull up a lot of like really high people, like at 415, 416, because that could be like high progression people with like a lot of gem things as well. So I'm just gonna go up to 414. We'll try going with this. All right, so this is roughly the same item level, roughly the same kill length. How many people were in his kill? Six. Sure, I'll add that too. Why not? Raid size. Let's look for something in that range as well. That's not really anywhere near as important, but it could affect like the amount of health that the ads have, and like how long people would be, like how long he would need to switch the ads. But I mean, there's a big enough sample size that I don't think it's going to affect like the number of results that I get back. So that's the only reason I looked at that also. All right, so looking at OBM in particular, yeah, so it's like a 340 kill at 413. And so like 27.5 is high, well 27 in general is high. It's like 24, 25 is kind of what to be aiming for. Alright, let's look and see what gear you had. Pressure, pummeling, ultra. Wait, actually, is that a defense? Yeah, it's a defensive one. Oh, Ruinous Bolt. Yeah, that's the other mask. Alright, so Ruinous Bolt, Arcane Pummeling, and Arcane Pressure. Looks like a lot of the Arcane Mages that like are using Treacherous Covenant, but I understand not using it. As well, if you're worried about, I guess, like survivability. Again, that kind of depends on the fight, whether that's actually an issue or not, but so I'll try and find something, without it, just for comparison. But obviously, the vast majority of these have at least one Treacherous Covenant. But again, there are some without it, so you can still do competitive DPS without it. let's just look at this one here. Alright, first thing, always gonna look at damage on adds. I mean, this is a Alliance Mage, but that isn't going to be too big of an issue. Alright, so looks like you ignore the 4th add, but that could be, you know, most likely that's just part of the strategy. Alright, so yeah, he is doing damage to the adds, so are you. Something I didn't look at earlier as well, I forgot to look at for the debuffs, to see if like you got like thrown or something. Let's see if this lets me put both of these on the same log without... I should just do it first. Alright. Main, opium. Alright, resources. Let's look at mana first. Alright, so it looks pretty similar, like you both burn all your mana. Then it looks like it's coming up, yeah. 37. Yeah, like basically right as that first ad is dying. Alright, it looks like he burns and then does more of a sustain, like after that like initial burn. Doesn't drop as fast as you did. Like it looks like you burn off a lot more mana then and then sustain overall at a lower point. Yeah. Yeah, during this point like his mana just stays a lot higher, and then when he gets to be able to do his next burn phase, it's a bit stronger. Alright, but yeah, I just wanted to look at that first before I put them on, put both of these on the same log, because I know doing the comparison probably won't work again when trying to look at resources. Breaks a lot of the time. Alright, compare. Alright, and we're looking at Ron Heroic. Alright, yeah, this one's working. Alright. Guess I can go straight to yeah, straight to gas. Instead of all friendlies, let's go Obium, and do the same thing, click on it again, but this time I'm going to go to the other arcane mage that I want to look at and compare, which was Nemhane. Alright, so here's number of casts overall between the two logs. Exact same number of arcane blasts. Missiles are pretty close, exact same arcane barrages. He's actually using Rune. Alright, so let's look and see talents real quick. Alright. Sorry, Manny, I'm not looking at your Jaina DPS. Not at the moment. So yeah, you guys use different builds. Rune of Power versus Encounter's Flow. And charged up. Let's see what the 4 charges. 10%. Alright, yeah, that's. Alright, so let's go back a step. Let me try and find. Let's try and look at talent usage as well. Definitely looks like charged up, at least for this fight, is far, far more common. I only see like 1 resonance. Let's look without this. Alright. Grong, Heroic. Pain Mage, talents. Alright. Yeah, so charged up, it looks like. Yeah, it looks like 4 times as many mages are using charged up over resonance. I don't know about all fights, but I'll look at that in a moment. Let's see, look at Bro 3, Rune of Power. Rune of Power isn't as big of a difference. For DPS, it definitely does more damage. But obviously that's going to be, the amount that you can utilize it. But let me look at all fights as well. I mean, obviously, so like, if you had like a rune and you could switch talents or whatever before this fight, that's probably something you would want to do if you're just trying to, maximize like single target is Rune of Power and charged up. But let me look, overall all bosses, try and get a better idea of how those stack up. Yeah, Rune is used a bit more. And the overall DPS is a bit higher, but obviously it's, you have to be able to utilize it. So in like heavy movement fights, it wouldn't be as good. Charged up just looks like overall in general it is much better though. It's used like 4 times as much, and the overall DPS is higher as well. So yeah, that might be something you want to try doing. Is switching to using that. Gonna have a healer duel. See who can out DP. That would actually be kind of fun. Having all the healers like DPS and like their healing specs. And then we have to have all the DPS try and heal in their DPS specs. I'd totally win with Spiritmen. I don't care. Alright, Alright, so yeah, it looks like talent-wise that might be something you want to look into for possibly switching to Rune of Power on the fights that you can take advantage of it, and then possibly switching to charged up. I assume on most fights, but can look and see. Alright. But for the purpose of comparison, for like the other things in this log, I'm gonna try and find actually this person right here uses Encounter's Flow and Resonance, so I think I'll be able to compare this log. Although it's really not too much more than you did. You did like 20.5, and this is like 23.5. Actually, yeah, let's charge it up again. Alright, let's get rid of the raid size filter. See if I can get a couple more results.
Hey, it's me. So I had a dream about it again last night. This time I remember standing by
Alright,
the
so
ocean,
at
watching the
24.6, that looks like it's going to be the best we're going to find. Alright, so maybe comparing with this log.
It looked as beautiful as ever. We sat down and
Alright.
watched the sun slowly disappear beyond the endless horizon. As the glow gradually faded away, we had each other for long.
Yeah. Oh, wait, no, he was using charged up as well. Oops. Forgot we need encounters flow and resonance. The same.
With your head on my
Yeah, alright, so
shoulder,
that's the first one. So
assuring you that we would always be safe with you. We thought about our past.
the highest log with that talent combination
Spheres
is like
before we became
is 23.3 compared to potential 29k going the opposite way. Oh wow, thanks, aw. That crazy host must have just finished up some of those Mythic Plus carries. I don't know how he can still do any more after a 24-hour stream, but apparently he had to finish helping some people out. Alright, so for all the people who just hopped in, I'm just helping Plutonium, sure, his Arcane Mage, going over some logs.
You brought me so much joy, love,
Alright,
then tried to break free.
so where was that log at?
The sound of your sweet voice through the duct tape was
Oh,
perfect, and I loved it.
thank you very much. Cataclysmic. There we go. Cataclysmic for the bits. Oh, Apollo 711. Thank you as well for the follow. Alright, so I think the closest one that we're going to find is for that log. Where'd he go? Yeah, it's the second page. Alright, just cat is fine. Alright, good. Cat is much easier. Alright. Is this the same mage? Yeah, I guess so. Alright. So, again, still not the exact same talents even, but alright. So yeah, we're not going to find something close enough. Sorry, Obion. Yeah, so here, exclamation point, submit. If you type that in chat at any point, whether I'm streaming or not, that'll pull up this link. You can click that link, and it will pull up this form here. You can optionally put in your name, your Twitch name, character name, server region, server name, and then just any question that you want to put in at the bottom. That's the important part. Whatever question you want, and then you click submit. That'll send that straight to me. I'll get an email with that. Again, like if you have something like a log type thing that you wanted me to look at, having like your character name helps a lot because it won't necessarily match what you have. But Yeah, it'll be the easiest way for me to find your logs. I mean, you can obviously, if you have a specific log that you want me to look at, you can just link the actual log down there at the bottom. Um, but yeah, I don't mind answering questions about anything WoW related or anything not WoW related. I don't really care. But yeah, this is my usual stuff that I go over on my Monday streams. You know, Weekor is add-ons, macros, log review, just general topics for discussion, like just some of the stuff that I've talked about before. Yeah. Ah, yes, I will say I did help Bunton and Awe with getting cutting edge, I guess. Because I was one of the 20 people in the raid, but it wasn't just me for sure. Everyone helped. How do you start your own stream? I mean, that's if you want to send that question in, I will go over that as well. Like, you know, software, settings, all that sort of stuff. I can show what I use. But yeah, my normal Monday streams usually starts at 8 server, so like 2 hours ago, depending on whatever region you are in. It's 8 Eastern for me, and it usually goes about 2 hours, sometimes a little over an hour, sometimes up to 3 hours, but today I had a lot of questions to get through, so I'll probably be on for at least another hour. Yeah, this is my Monday night stream. Then Tuesdays and Wednesdays I stream my raid progress. Right now we're only main raiding on Tuesdays, but I may be doing something else on Wednesday raid related, but keep you updated on that. And then random other days throughout the week I might be streaming either Classic or Mythic Plus stuff, so yeah. Alright, so back to looking at Obium stuff here. I don't know if it's going to let me do it again. Let's check. Alright. I compared before looking at resources with the other mage, but I'm going to look again. Alright, so he doesn't burn anywhere near as hard. Again, this isn't as good of a log to compare with because you know, he is 23.5k, and ideally we want to be looking at something that's doing a bit more, like, you know, 27k or something like that at this gear level. But again, at least for like that 3k difference, we can try and see where that could possibly be made up. Yeah, let me try and do a compare as well. Alright, so again, to compare logs, just clicking on the compare button, going to the other log, we want to take like that first string of letters and numbers after the report, where it says reports, but it says that right here, how to do that. So it's like this section of letters that we want. So I'm just going to take the one that I copied from the URL up there, paste, and hit OK. Alright, click on wrong. Alright, I'm going to have to change this a little bit. They had several kills on this other log, so... Alright, this first one, this should be Obians. Alright, but the second wrong... Let's go back. Let's do that again. Alright, which one were we looking at? The one that's 323. Alright, yeah, it's the first kill here. Oh. Zidarkumon, thank you as well for the follow. I think I forgot to say that earlier. Oh, and thank you very much again for more bits. Thanks, Kata. Alright, so here we go. Now we got the comparison between the two mages. Alright, so let's look at buffs. I'm also going to filter this just to show the two mages that I care about. So Obium, and just click it again. As long as you're getting someone from like the teal colored stuff and something from like the magenta colored stuff or blue and pink or whatever. As long as you click one from each, it'll compare them. So it was this name. Alright. So debuffs, let's see if either of them were thrown. It doesn't look like it. Cast-wise, he doesn't even use Arcane Barrage at all. It's just missiles, missiles and blast. All right. He does get some more Arcane Missile casts in. One less Presence of Mind. Both got 2 Evos. Alright, I want to see like the difference in specific gear pieces. Alright, both have 415 weapons. Both gearing for mastery. Different enchants, but I can look and see what like the higher mages are using as well. Mage Fuse versus Balefire. He has a little bit higher trinkets, 5 item levels on both years. I can check like sliver uptime. You mentioned those hunters standing on you. Alright. Alright, actually that's pretty significant, I will say. Yeah, it looks like you only had 20% uptime. Is that right? Yeah, so that like destroyed the value of that trinket for you by quite a bit. So yeah, you definitely were not lying about that. Yeah, you got 4 Presence of Mind. I think I mentioned that earlier. Alright, potions. You did not get a second potion, and it doesn't look like here. Let's see if you did. I don't see a potion at all, actually. So, there's that. Yeah, it's so hard to compare with like, such differences. Yeah, maybe, I don't know if you want to, I can try doing like a comparison with one of the other mages, but again, like, with a difference in talents, it's going to just completely change the results, like the number of casts, everything. So it's going to be kind of hard to compare. But yeah, I mean, obviously you have, you know, me in Discord and everything, but if you want to like send in another question, after you try switching the talents, we had mentioned, you know, trying out Rune of Power on single target stuff, or not even necessarily single target, but on fights that you can, you know, be a little bit more stationary, and then also changing up to charged up. Yeah. Try those out, and just let me know when you do, and I'll try and look at your log as well and see if I can get a better comparison. And actually, I know I've seen you log as well a lot. Uh, let's do this. All right. When you can, Obium, can you? I'll send this to you in Discord, but can you give me a copy of your Simcraft like output? And that way I can see if like next week or whenever I get your other logs, I'll try and see if I can find anything better for your gear or anything like that in raid bots as well. There we go. Alright, I just sent you a private message there. Alright, there we go. Alright. So let's go ahead and look at the next question. Zeno, thank you very much for the sub. You get that that amazing for the spreadsheet emote there. I mean, I did make that emote by hand. All those lines and everything. Alright. Let's go ahead and look at the next question here. This one is from Fatal Kill on Kill Jaden. Yup. Alright. He says, just want to do more DPS in Mythic Plus dungeons. Currently pulling 18k overall in dungeons at 400 item level. I don't know if that is decent for my item level or not, but any suggestions like Azurite, traits, and talents or stats would be helpful. I crafted that emote from thin air. A wizard. Alright. Let me double check. Alright, Fatal Kill on Kill Jaden. There we go. Alright. So, I talked to him briefly in chat just the other day. Alright, so let's see. Oh. Ghoul Gone. Ghoul. I think that's supposed to be Ghoul. Ghoul Gone Wild. Alright. I mean, I get it. I get the reference. Thank you very much for the follow. Alright. So, Fatal Kill, he was talking to me in stream chat the other day about increasing his DPS. Actually, it was on stream on Saturday. So yeah, actually, technically it was yesterday because it was like Sunday morning when I was helping out, or afternoon or whatever, near the end of Oz, like 24-hour stream. But yeah, he was saying he wanted to. He wish he could DPS like me in Mythic Plus or whatever. So I want to look at. I wanted to give some suggestions. All right, so. Alright, so first looking at his gear. Alright, so overall traits. I happen to have some of these items, so that's why I'm just looking at them just to compare real quick. I don't know if I have hook barb shoulder and spalders. I do not have those, but those are his highest item level. It's his highest item level piece anyway. Alright, so suggestions. Alright, just from looking at the pieces that you have, you could arrange your Azurite traits to be a little bit better. So on your shoulders, you probably do want to be using them, just because looking from your other gear, you have like a 390, it's like 385 base piece, 400 for your head. I don't know all of your gear, again, but while you do want one rapid reload for sure, you do have options for it right now. Like, I mean, technically you could put it on your helm, but you don't really want to because you want the primal instincts there. But your chest, that's the same chest that I use for my rapid reload, and it's perfect because you can go. This is probably the best chest for Mythic Plus because it has primal instincts and rapid reload on it, potentially, and you wouldn't even be losing the feeding frenzy. The main benefit of Feeding Frenzy, which is like the extended duration of Frenzy, because you already have it on your helm. So my suggestion would be to put Rapid Reload on your chest. The rest of the traits, they're fine. Like Nightcall is going to be your next best on that for your third thing. But yeah, I would say put Rapid Reload on your chest. And then on your shoulders, you could change something there. You actually have options. Let's see, inner trait. Dagger in the back. Alright, yeah, so you're going to need to go with Serrated Jaws, so that would stay the same, but the outer one, instead of having Rapid Reload, you could go Dire Consequences or Dance of Death. Dire Consequences if you're going to stack Mastery, and then you want to go Dance of Death if you're going to stack Crit. Right now you're stacking Haste, so for BM, either of those. Hiroshiki, thank you very much for the follow. Either one of those, I think, will end up being better for you. Mastery is more of a universal stat in that it's going to be strong single target and AoE. Crit is going to be a lot stronger in single target, but not as strong in AoE. And then Haste, that one actually kind of varies where it's strong or weak at. It kind of depends on the rest of your gear. But if you do go with Dance of Death, you definitely want to switch to going with Crit. Let me see this real quick. Yeah, I would stay with Gut Ripper for that third talent there. Let's see, Hood of the Dark Reaper. Yeah, you have Overwhelming Power. That's the best there. So yeah, that'd be, for gearing wise, that'd be my one suggestion, is swap the Feeding Frenzy on your chest for Rapid Reload, and then swap the Rapid Reload on your shoulders for Dance of Death if you want to switch to Crit. Actually, yeah, you're missing an enchant on your ring, but you do have a Crit enchant here. So if you wanted to just put a Crit enchant in your ring and then just change your 3 gems, you go with Dance of Death. And that's probably going to be stronger. overall. So that would be my suggestion, going with that. You can go dire consequences, but with what you have, I would probably suggest going with Dance of Death. All right, so gearing wise, that's going to be the first step. All right. All right. So looking at your trinkets, this is kind of tough because, while this trinket isn't the best, it's going to be very, very strong for you just because. See, you have a kind of a strange trinket thing. So you do want like an on-use trinket for Mythic Plus because you want to stack it with your Bestial Wrath and Aspect of the Wild, well, particularly Aspect of the Wild, for like reaping packs and that sort of thing. But or strong packs that need to die quickly with dangerous mobs. But like you have the two passive trinkets without being on use isn't going to give you the on-demand burst then. So your overall DPS isn't going to be as high because, like, when you look at most trinkets, if you look at like their overall damage, like a passive trinket, like if you're attacking like a target demi or whatever for 5 minutes or something like that, usually a passive trinket is budgeted to be higher and should be more overall damage. But when you look at comparing like an on-use trinket stacked with other cooldowns, that's why those are usually preferred, is because the damage benefit is like multiplicative. So, especially when you're hitting like a lot of mobs. But what I was saying about it being unfortunate about how your setup is, because Harlan's is a really, really good trinket, and unfortunately you're probably going to have to replace it, because it's like this trinket at 410 with a socket, that's going to be hard to replace, especially if you like also switch it to being like a crit gem and you're going with Dance of Death. That's going to be like a really strong trinket for a long time. You'll need something pretty high to replace that. So ideally you get either Gale Caller's Boon, which is I prefer it in Mythic Plus, but the other alternative is one of the like 2-minute cooldowns trinkets. So like Lustrous Golden Feather, like the plumage or whatever. What's it actually called? Yeah, Lustrous Golden Plumage. That's it. The one from King's Rest. That one's a 2-minute cooldown, but it doesn't have like the positioning requirement. But I don't know. I find, in most cases at least, that you can generally stay within the range of the ground effect on Gale Caller's Boon in Mythic Plus and take full advantage of it still. And the reason I prefer Gale Callers because it having a 1-minute cooldown, even though it has the positional requirement, is because with a 1-minute cooldown, you can delay it and have it back up for your Aspect of the Wilds, like every time. Whereas with Plumage, in PvE I use that because I don't have rapid reload, so my Aspect of the Wild is always 2 minutes, so I can always trinket with Aspect of the Wild. But in Mythic Plus, because I do have rapid reload, my usual Aspect of the Wild cooldown is like 40 seconds less or something like that. It obviously varies depending on like whatever packs I'm going, but it's always less than 2 minutes by quite a bit. So being able to use it, like I can almost always stack Gale Caller's 1-minute cooldown with my Aspect of the Wild cooldown. At like the 1-minute mark or something, instead of only being able to use my trinket every other use of Aspect of the Wild. So that's the reasoning on that. But yeah, try looking to get one of those on-use trinkets and probably replace the Harlan's. Um, so let's see if I can find any logs. Alright, here's some Mythic Plus logs, actually. It's handy dandy. Alright, what has AoE at the very beginning? Most likely the first pack in Freehold. Alright. These are just on the leaderboard. I don't know if any of these are going to show up. Maybe. Yeah, I don't think any of these are going to show up, unfortunately. Alright, so I can't see any of these logs, but I might be able to look at like a PvE one. Alright, what I was trying to look for was to see if you had rapid reload. See if I could compare like what rotation you're using on AoE. I guess I can still look at that. That's still kind of hard because it's not really the correct number of mobs, but alright, I guess I'll look. Alright, so
Earth Elemental.
alright, so from right here I can see some issues. So you start off this fight. I know you wanted to look at PvE, or not PvP, at Mythic Plus as opposed to like a raid encounter. But looking at this, I can see some issues that would affect your Mythic Plus damage as well if you were doing similar things. This is from the 17th, so it's a little bit a while ago. But anyway, so when you want to open into a pack, obviously if you're pre-potting, you would do that first before you get into combat. But your first ability should be Bestial Wrath. And the reason for that is that's another button that you can technically press that happens before combat. So like while your pet is starting to run in, you can Bestial Wrath, and then you can start using your abilities that will actually initiate combat. So like, say for example, if you tried to do the same thing and you like crows first, like before combat actually started, you'd obviously pull the boss early. So you don't want to do that. So of all your buttons, the only two relevant ones that you can do before combat are Bestial Wrath and Aspect of the Wild. So the best one to do is always going to be Bestial Wrath, and I'll explain why that's better than Aspect of the Wild in just a second. Alright, so Bestial Wrath first. Then after that, doing crows is fine, but ideally you still want to hold it for a little while. The reason is because you want to get both of your cooldowns up, ideally, before you do anything else. So that's why you're still going to delay the crows to a bit later. So then you would think, okay, so Bestial Wrath first, then Aspect of the Wild. That, however, is still actually wrong. The reason is because of your traits. Quick jump to summary. Primal Instincts, whenever you use it, it's going to give you a charge of Barb Shot. So, Alright. So, the actual correct opener is always going to be like Pre-Pot, Bestial Wrath, and then it's actually going to be Barb Shot, and then Aspect of the Wild, because you generally don't ever want to Aspect of the Wild when you have 2 charges of Barb Shot already, because right when you press Aspect of the Wild, you're just wasting the whole free charge that you get of Barb Shot. So, if you do Bestial Wrath, then Barb Shot, then Aspect of the Wild, that gives you that second charge back. And then you could use another one. So, ideally, Bestial Wrath, Barb Shot, Aspect of the Wild, Barb Shot. And then you could go doing Crows after that. Alright, so that's going to be general opener. But in this case, it's going to be a little bit different. Because this fight starts off with AoE, what you want to be doing in like a multi-target situation, even here, I don't see it until way down here. So 36 seconds in for your first multi-shot. That means while normal there's 2 mobs at the beginning, and then after a few seconds like Rastakhan comes in, so you could be hitting 3 mobs. But even at 2 mobs, you want to be using multi-shot every 3rd ability to keep up Beast Cleave. It lasts, Beast Cleave, like after you press multi-shot, lasts for 4 seconds. So if you press multi-shot, you always have time to hit 2 other buttons, so like Barb Shot, Cobra Shot, or Barb Shot, Chimera Shot, or Cobra Shot, Chimera Shot, or Cobra Shot, Kill Command. You know, obviously, any 2 GCD abilities, and then you'd want to press multi-shot again. So whenever there's more than 1 target, just always try and think of that rule. That's like, aside from getting your cooldown, like getting the most out of your cooldowns, that's the next most important thing for DPS, for BM, is keeping Beast Cleave up to hit, you know, as many targets as possible. And that's really, it's just the basic rotation of making sure multi-shot is the 3rd ability that you, it's like your every 3 abilities, one of the, like the 3rd one is going to be multi-shot. I guess technically the first one is going to be multi-shot, and then you press 2 other things. Did I log a few days ago? No, I didn't. Alright, let's upload this real quick. Alright, 1 second. Apparently there's an update. Just 1 second. I need to download apparently this new client because it's not letting me update like normal. Gotta log in. Ba-dum-dum-dum. Just a moment. It's at 40%. I just want to show the difference in openers compared to what I do on the same fight, because I actually just recently did this on normal even. Gave me an error. Gotta do it again. Apparently, because I did install the new client, I had to like choose US region for my personal logs. Right. Actually, this is gonna have all the Mythic Plus that I did with Awe in it as well, because I haven't uploaded Dog since then. Oh, I bet that underrot is pretty nice though. I think I did like 37 something K on that underrot. That was nuts. Alright, it's at 57% in the actual like log uploading part. Sorry, there was like several hours of dungeons here. I think we did like 8 Mythic Plus, and then I did like a normal. I think I have like some alt Mythic Plus in here. I don't remember. Alright, it's at 90%. 95? 8? Done? Maybe. Alright, there we go. Oh my god, you're not being processed. Yeah, see, there's a lot of stuff in this log. I'm gonna see what I did in that underwrite real quick. This one. No, it's 32 in this one. Oh, that's right, yeah. See, Warcraft logs shows the damage differently than details, obviously, in game. But yeah, that 32k was a lot in actual game. It was like in details at the end of the run, it's 37. Okay. All right. So where was Rusticon normal? All right. So, ranking. Pass. Litters. Timeline. All right. So what I did differently here, comparing these two. Oh, can I put them both on? Try and put them together real quick. I don't know if it's going to show up properly, but I can try. It'll kill. Cast. Timeline. Yeah, perfect. Alright, that's what I want to see. Alright. So, again, I obviously pre-potted, pre-Bestial Wrath, so those aren't going to show up here. But, like I said, Barb Shot is going to be my, like, after Bestial Wrath, I'm going to Barb Shot, and in this case I actually multi-shot as well, before doing Aspect of the Wild. The reason that I'm doing that is because I want to wait a little bit on the Aspect of the Wild. Like, the order of these two is kind of depends on the situation. The reason to delay Aspect of the Wild a little bit here is because I know another mob is going to be coming out as well, so I'm still going to have a little bit more Aspect of the Wild time on the 3 targets instead of just the 2. But that's pretty minor. But the main point is making sure to get a Barb Shot cast off before doing the Aspect of the Wild. But after that, you can see that like my multi-shot use is way higher. I actually use it to like prevent focus capping, so I'm actually casting it even more than like every 3rd ability sometimes. But in general, you can see it's like multi-shot, ability. Here I can actually fit in 3 abilities because like being lusted and everything as well. Multi-shot, ability, multi-shot, ability, multi-shot, ability, multi-shot, ability, multi-shot, ability, multi-shot. Like, I'm making sure, for sure, Beast Cleave is going to be up. Like, it never goes more than 3 abilities. Once we get to here, I believe, what happened right here? I don't remember if he'd stomped or maybe if one of the mobs died at this point. And that's why, yeah, I believe that's why I stopped multi-shotting at the point. I can go back and check, but like the number of multi-shots in the opener there is like pretty much when I stopped doing multi-shots is like when you did the first one, like 36 seconds in. But if you look at the damage in like the first, 36 seconds is like when the first mob died in my log. But yeah, if you look at the actual damage done, like I'm literally doubled. Even looking at like the percentage of damage done, like my Beast Cleave. Yeah, it looks like. One second. Oh, alright. One moment, I'll be right. Alright, and yeah, I do try to always precast Bestial Wrath, as basically like the closest thing I can do, before actually pulling. Like I pretty much like on a pull timer, at 3 seconds I misdirect, at 2 seconds I pre-pot, at 1 second I Bestial Wrath, at 0 seconds I Barb Shot. That's pretty much what, in Mythic Plus, it's a little bit different. That's like my opener for like a PvE, like raid boss type thing. In Mythic Plus, it depends. A lot of the times it doesn't end up working out like that, just because, like, usually it'll, like, Bestial Wrath might come up in the middle of a pack or something like that. But say I have all my cooldowns available and a Reaping pack is about to happen or something like that, I'll actually try to precast. Again, actually, this kind of depends as well. Depends on the number of Reaping mobs that would be spawning nearby, but Aspect of the Wild lasts longer than Bestial Wrath, so it's usually better to cast Aspect of the Wild earlier than Bestial Wrath, and then like a few seconds into, or sorry, Aspect of the Wild. It's usually better to cast Aspect of the Wild like a few seconds earlier, and then Bestial Wrath near the end of it, so that like your whole Bestial Wrath fits in that Aspect of the Wild window, but doing it later on, like on a Reaping Pack or whatever, lets all those other mobs get in. And generally, like, you don't always have like your 2 charges of like Barb Shot at the beginning. And you also want to build up your Frenzy stacks to get, you know, as high as you can in like a burst situation like that as well. So like, say if I have all my cooldowns, and say I even had like all my bestial or all my barb shot charges or whatever. If I had like everything available and like a reaping pack's gonna spawn, if we drop combat long enough and reaping is about to happen, I try and pre-pot. Then like as soon as the first mob spawns, it depends. Like I said, it depends on how many of the reaping mobs are going to be spawning right there, versus like running in after a while. But that pretty much determines on if I'm going to precast Aspect of the Wild or not. Like if everything's spawning right on top of me, you want to Aspect of the Wild early because everything might be dead in 20 seconds. But if you have the time to, then Barb Shot first, and then it's basically like the normal thing. Like you want a Barb Shot, then Aspect of the Wild to get your charge back, Barb Shot again, and then by that time you can probably start the Bestial Wrath because most of the other, like a lot of the other stuff might be running in by that point. Like you have more time to ramp up basically if you know things have to run towards you still. But if like, for example, in Freehold, right after the second boss, or actually even sometimes like right before the second boss, it depends on like your route. It's actually usually just before the second boss, like when you're doing all that trash. By then, yeah, rapid fire on adjust is definitely very important. If you have if you have like all of the mobs like spawning right there all at the same time, like in Freehold, like you need to pre-pop like everything, like pre-pop Aspect of the Wild, and then depending on how much DPS your group is going to do, it might even be worth using like Bestial Wrath right before they spawn as well, because the mobs are probably only going to be alive for like, you know, 10 seconds, 12 seconds or something like that for the whole pack. If you're, you know, doing like a lot of damage and like your group is doing a lot of damage. So it kind of depends on how long the mobs are going to be alive on when you like pop the cooldowns. But I usually try not to pre-pop Bestial Wrath, like I said, just because, like I said, it lasts less time than Aspect of the Wild. So if I'm going to pre-use a cooldown, I try to have it be that. But again, I also try to not waste the charge of Barb Shot, so that's really it's really situational on how to do that. But yeah, so for Fatal Glow, it was Gup Gup. Yeah, that would be my suggestions. I mentioned the gearing suggestion before, and then also look, sorry, rotationally. There's a couple other things here that I want to mention, but I'll get to in just a second. But just making sure if there's ever even 2 targets up, make sure to keep up Beast Cleave and be multi-shotting. Make sure that stays up. The exception to that is you still don't want to delay kill command if there's only 2 mobs, but if there's 3 mobs or more, Beast Cleave is the most important thing. So in general, just try to always keep up Beast Cleave, even if you have to delay your kill command until you get used to it. just always prioritize keeping up Beast Cleave. Get like a weak ore or something to track it. Make sure you don't ever miss that and letting it drop off. Another thing you don't want to do in general is use 2 barb shot charges like this. So the problem with this right here is that means that your frenzy is going to fall off of your pet, and you're not going to be able to avoid it, especially since you use the aspect of the wild here. So I'm going to go show that real quick. Buffs on Arcturus. Alright, I actually kept it up for quite a while. I'm actually surprised it stayed up that much. It's possible that might have been a proc right then. Which is why you would use it, which would make sense. But generally, you want to actually delay using it a bit. I can do it here. Yeah, this isn't gonna work. I wanted to see the stacks, and doing it like that doesn't show the stacks very well. Let's see. Alright. So, at the beginning here, my stacks actually drop off. And that's just... It usually doesn't happen. But this is actually right when the mob was dying, so I was trying to keep up having the 3 stacks hitting both at the same time for longer there. But usually that doesn't happen. And actually right here, that's just bad play right here, this delay. I should have actually waited a little bit longer right here to cast that first charge. But generally, like here near the end, like you should be able to keep up Frenzy for roughly a minute or more in most cases. Whereas if you look at yours, like it drops off a lot more often, but you tend to ramp them, like 2 of them close to each other, a lot more often. Like here's a cast and here's a cast, real close to each other. Here's a cast, real close. Here and here, here and here. That's like almost 3 right in a row. Within 3 seconds, it's like almost, it's like 3 out of your 4 GCDs were casting it right there, which usually isn't something good to do unless something is like dying right away or something like that, and you're not going to get any other uses, because it's going to make your overall uptime lower. Like even if you just look at your overall uptime in general, like I have 94%, and huge majority of that is staying at 3 stacks, whereas you have 81%, and a lot of that is not at 3 stacks. It's actually something that I don't know off the top of my head on how to do in logs. Yeah, I mean, even if you get Mythic Plus stuff or something like that, I can still look at your logs and compare it like this. If you put in a question for it, I don't mind. Or even target dummy, I don't mean. You can still do the same mechanical type stuff and record your logs. One other the thing that I was mentioning that I'm not sure off the top of my head on how to do is to make a filter and just look at having 3 stacks, or any amount of stacks of a buff and being able to put that in here so it shows the uptime properly. I'm sure it would be possible. Let me see if it's in like the default query. No, it wouldn't be. Yeah, no, I'd have to do a custom. Yeah, I'd have to do a custom query for it, but anyway. Actually, I just thought of. I'm pretty sure I know how to do it, but yeah. So that'd be something to look at as well. I'm going to go ahead and link my Igor real quick. It's close to get rid of this. Alright. So this week we're right here. You don't necessarily need this whole package, but I'm just gonna link it or whatever. It also has the frenzy charge. Or sorry, the barb shot, like recharge time. But this one here, this bar for frenzy. The idea is just like after you cast frenzy, like you get it up on the target or whatever, you know, when the bar starts going down, just make sure to use it again as late as possible without letting it drop off. That's like basically the two rules that you want to do with frenzy. Is you want to have it applied when you're under Bestial Wrath, and alright, so 3 rules. You want to have it up while you're under Bestial Wrath. You don't want to ever let yourself have 2 charges of Barb Shot, and you don't want to let it fall off for as much as possible. So, like, you do the other 2 things, and then aside from that, it's just casting it as late as possible before it falls off. There's another weak aura, actually, Azerthorian's Barb Shot Helper weak aura helps with this as well. Mine is more of a visual aid just to check it because that can just tell you when it's actually going to drop off. The helper is this little icon thing that pops up. I've actually modified mine compared to his just a little bit, just with like a brighter glow and that sort of stuff. But basically this will pop up and make a little sound whenever any of those cases are true. So like if you have Bestial Wrath up and you don't have Frenzy, if you don't have like Frenzy in your pet, so you haven't cast a Barb Shot, this icon will pop up. If you're at 2 stacks of Barb Shot, this icon will pop up, etc. Like all those situations that I mentioned, they are all these different cases right here. So whether you need to refresh it because it's going to fall off, whether you're capped on 2 charges, whether you're going to be capped on 2 charges soon, like within a GCD, if Bestial Wrath is up, this is related to Dance of Death, or if you, what's this one? If you have, I believe this one is, I'm trying to think what this one is related to. Or Filler Barb. That's got to be, let me look at the actual trigger. Alright, so this is if you are low on focus and you still have at least 1.4 charges um, of barb shot, it'll suggest using it here because it won't make it so that you can't cast it again and have your charges fall and have your frenzy fall off, but it will help get you more focus. So this is a really low priority thing, but it's another case where it's useful to do. But again, like, you don't have to pay attention to any of that stuff if you're just like looking. When this icon pops up, you press the button, and it gives you like a little bit of leeway for reaction time. But that's why actually like by default it doesn't have like a sound trigger on it. So like if you just click on the overall group and you click play sound, you can modify this from Raven Laser because you might not have that sound. You can change it to whatever sound you want it to be. But I personally like that because a lot of the times I don't even look for the icon. I just listen to the sound. And you don't necessarily have to have an add-on to be able to track Frenzy, but it's much more difficult to like check your pet's buffs while doing like raid mechanics and that sort of stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and link both of these Suicros real quick. Alright, this first link here. Go move real quick. I've just linked it in chat. This is the barb shot frenzy, like bars that I made. I will say it in say as well here, so you can see. The other one is this here. That's Azertharian's, well, my edit of his little icon that pops up to remind you when to cast Barb Shot. Alright, on to the next question. I think we only have, alright, I have 3 more questions. 2 of them are from Kata today. I think I might cover these ones next week just because it's starting to run a bit late here. But I have one more that I want to look at that was from before. Alright, this one here is also from yesterday. This one says, It's also from Admiral Pendragon. Is it possible to make WeakAura show my keybinds on the icons as overlay text, like they do on the bars/buttons themselves? Hmm. I don't think that is possible because they're not actual buttons. Like you could obviously put the actual, you could put the text there. So that's um, hmm. I can check and see if there is anything like that. Just glance through things and see if I see anything with that. Pretty sure it's not possible. Like I know we can put like the cooldown. Test and see what this one has. No, and even just looking through any of the options, yeah, that wouldn't be possible just by default in WeakAura's. Like, it might be possible with something like completely custom coded that checks like the button in your keybind that you were to press and has like that text then like relayed to the WeakAura. But yeah, nothing really, I think, really useful. Where's this icon here? But like something like this, like you could have, like, all right, let me make this bigger for a second. All right, so, like this WeakAura right here, you could list like custom modify the text. I know why it has progress as well, but anyway, at least uh, like instead of stacks, you could say like alt plus S or something like that. Like you could just, you'd have to like hand input like any of the text that you wanted for like those type of things though. I don't think there's any way to get that information by default though, like through WeakAuras. At least not very easily. It would, put it this way, it wouldn't be worth the extra CPU cycles of like coding resources that it would be required to make your WeakAura get all that extra information than it would be to just manually put it in like that. It'd be much easier and simpler. that'd be my suggestion then. Just just adding like text to an icon, and just having it say whatever you want that keybind to be. Not that you would use Alt S to use like one of your main rotation abilities, but you get the idea. Alright. So, I think I'm going to be done streaming for tonight. I was, about 3 hours tonight for this. Again, if anyone has any questions though, !submit. We'll pull up that link there, whether I'm streaming or not. Anytime you can type that in and get the link. When you click that link, that will pull up this little form here. You can put in your Twitch name, character name, server, any of that sort of stuff if you want to. But whatever you put down in this bottom box here, it's your question you want to put in. Click submit, it gets emailed to me. I will answer it either on my next stream, or if it's something small, I might just respond to you directly. But yeah, I've gone over a couple different things tonight. I went over logs, I went over macros, I answered some questions, or actually no, I didn't do any macros today. But weak auras. But yeah, I can help with that, add-ons, overall like boss mechanic strategies, any of that sort of stuff. Whether you're just a normal raider looking to improve or a raid leader, I don't mind helping out with, bigger picture type mechanic things either. So like, if you have you think like an underperforming healing comp on a fight or something like that, and you want to improve, like, and people are dying, and you want to fix that. Like, maybe it's people taking too much damage, or maybe like healing cooldowns can be improved. So I could look at that. But yeah, just let me know, or if you want to request me talking about a certain topic. One thing that I was actually considering doing tonight, but I just had a lot of questions to get through today, but I might do it sometime before 8.2, is look at a boss fight and try and figure out what they're going to do on Mythic for like a first kill type thing. Obviously, I won't be able to judge because it's going to be based on tuning for like what their comp is going to be necessarily. Like if it's going to be like 3 healed or 5 healed or solo healed, probably not anymore, not these days. It's not like heroic Garrosh in Siege of Orgrimmar, but yeah, I might look at a fight and try and see like what they're going to do, if they're going to like stack 12 warlocks to try and get a first kill or something like that. I don't know. I was thinking about possibly doing that. For fights that I have not looked at like anything for 8.2 yet. Like, too early for me. Once they finish all the testing, then I see, like, my mindset is like, rather than doing the testing myself, which I can do, like if there was something specific that I wanted to test, but usually, like, most things have been tested, but I can get more useful information from looking at videos and logs of testing from like a lot of different sources, and do that like closer to release, so that's more like updated information, and then like use that to look at like strategy, like forming a strategy type thing. Like, I always prefer to do that rather than do like early testing that's gonna change and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, so that's why like I personally haven't looked at like any. I mean, I've glanced at like a few of the 8.2 like fights like while they're doing the testing, that sort of stuff, but I haven't like looked deeply into any of the mechanics for anything really yet. But yeah, I might do that for one of the upcoming bosses for next tier, and try and make a guess. I don't know. See what craziness those builds will try doing. But yeah, again, thanks everyone for coming to watch the stream tonight. Thanks for all the new follows, new subs, for the bits as well. Thank you all again, and I will be back 8 Eastern tomorrow for Raid, which is going to be really weird because we haven't done like a fresh Mythic BOD in like months. Let's see, actually, I'm curious. Um, nope, nope. I think back here? I don't think there's anything. Yeah. Yeah, it's literally been 2 months. Like as of yesterday, it was 2 months. So it's been over 2 months since I've killed like any of those bosses on my hunter. Wow, God. And to be fair, like yesterday was the first time doing them on any difficulty, and I did them on normal. Like I haven't even done it on heroic on my hunter in 2 months on any of the bosses, other than when we were progressing on Mechatork, and then we progressed on Blockade, and then we progressed on Jaina. Like I haven't done any of the like first 6 bosses at all since then. So yeah, that'll be interesting. But we'll see how that goes. I mean, Bunton's just gonna heal us through everything anyway, so we can just stand in liquid gold on opulence and all that sort of stuff anyway. Alright. Alright, so thanks again everyone. Have a good night.